Good evening. What a wonderful day to be sober. I'm impressed with the new people coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. Congratulations. And please don't identify with my story, because you have your own. And we don't compare, we don't judge. And this is a safe place for you to be. And I'm going to tell you how I got sober. And then I'm going to tell you how I stayed sober. My sobriety date is January 31st, 1964. That's the day that we got sober. That's the day that we got sober. I'm so ever grateful for the people that came before me, that we're rooted in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the giants that came before me. They showed me the way. I'm a member of the Back Porch International group online, and my home group is the Monday Night Speakers group in St. Petersburg, Florida. This group reminds me a lot of my group. They're loud, they have fun, they do extra things, they go out and socialize with each other. But I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But I have a general story. But I would rather, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my problems with alcohol. And then I'm going to try to tell you my problems trying to grow up in AA. My dad was a heavy social drinker. He was a periodic drinker. He came home on time all the time, but when he didn't come home on time, you better hide out someplace, because he was an angry, violent guy. That's not what... I was scared to death of that man. And my mother made me swear, hand up, made me swear that I would never pick up a drink. And I said, Mother, I don't like what happens to my dad when he picks up a drink, or my uncles when they pick up a drink, because there's always trouble. And I had an opportunity to fulfill that commitment to my mother, but I chose through peer pressure to pick up a drink. And I got in trouble. First night out. And I didn't drink the next day, and I didn't drink the day after, or 2 or 3 weeks, but I always thought that alcohol made me different. Gave me a sense of belonging. And, I was a pretty good athlete in school. I was a good student. I got scholarships to play sports, and I was scared to death. I never was away from home. And I decided to pick a fight with my parents. I need somebody to blame, right? Pick a fight with my parents. And I ran away from home, about half a mile down the road. Not a long trip, but I got a room in the room and house for 3 days, and I got drunk for 3 days. And the third day, I went to Boston. I lived about 8 miles north of Boston. And I got drunk, and I woke up coming out of a blackout with my hand up in the air being sworn into the United States Army. You think that's a little bit of trouble? Unbelievable. And I knew I was cooked. You know, if I didn't have my hand up, I could have walked out the door. But I was too drunk to walk. And they threw me in a bus along with 60 other guys going down to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And they stopped in Connecticut. And my new friend and I got lost. Well, we didn't get lost, we hid out. And they were trying to find us. And they found us 4 or 5 hours later. And that meant that everybody else down in New Jersey was waiting for us. So my first deal was to stand at attention in the rain with all my clothes. That was how I started out in the United States Army. They gave me a choice of being an MP. Can you imagine me being an MP drunk? I'd be, or a dental technician. I don't know how I became a dental technician. I call that the grace of God. But somebody always took care of me. Somebody always got me out of trouble. I drove a colonel around. He was a dental surgeon in Korea. And my claim to fame is that I occasionally would forget where I left them. And I had to have some good qualities because I didn't get fired. I didn't go to jail. Should have went to jail. But one night I come back and the MP gate was down and I drove through it. No boundaries. And the provost marshal says, "Ma, you get out of here before I have to lock you up," because he knew I was the colonel's driver. So the grace of God's been always in my life, working around me, working through me. I came to AA. Well, before I get to AA, let me just tell you the story. I tried everything to stop drinking. Didn't work. And because I thought it would be different. Every day I got drunk, passed out. I thought it would be different. And my dad was president of the Ironworkers Local Number 7 in Boston. And he was head of the apprentice training program. And he says, "You're next because I'm going to throw you out of here." And I knew he threw other people out before. You know, I was a disgrace to my family. I'd show up Saturday morning and fall asleep at the desk. I could have been Tuesday morning or any morning. But I decided to go find me a woman to take care of me. I figured a woman would straighten me right out. So where I was drinking, there were no women. So I went to my first cocktail lounge, and I saw this beautiful woman. Now, this is alcoholic thinking. I saw this beautiful woman, and I said to myself, I'm going to marry her. That's alcoholic thinking. I haven't even met her. You know? And she was she was there with a bunch of her girlfriends, and they were celebrating someone's birthday. And Mimi never picked up, if she picked up a thimble full of alcohol every couple of years, that was a lot. She didn't drink. So we wined and dined each other, and she said to me, "You go to AA or we're not getting married." Now I'm getting married in 3 months. You go to AA or we're not getting married. And I couldn't see with my life without drinking, so I said, okay. I got to the AA meeting, which was at 8:30, and I sat outside till 29 past 8. It was cold, it's snowing, or raining, or whatever. And I walked into my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I tried to sneak in there and not be recognized, and there's 2 guys standing by the door. Thank God for the 2 guys that stand by. Thank God for the people that stand in line by the door and welcome people into Alcoholics Anonymous. They saved my life. I'm looking for a way out, and I haven't even got into AA. Now, there was a lot of women in there, but they were driving their husbands around. There was very few women in Alcoholics Anonymous in those days. And, the male alcoholic was a Skid Row bum, and the woman alcoholic was less than that. Hard to believe, because most of the people, half of the people in Alcoholics Anonymous are women. Maybe more. I haven't counted, but it seems that way. And the people were all dressed up, and I got hooked that night. I don't know what happened, but there was a woman up there speaking, and she touched my heart. And I said, this is not for me, because they are saying the Lord's Prayer the wrong way. I haven't been to church in a long time. But I remember, I was parochial school, they're talking the wrong language. So I get to the back of the door with my wife-to-be, and there's 3 big guys at the back door now. And they want to know who I am and what I'm doing. And he said to me, "Are you an alcoholic?" And I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "I didn't think you could ask me this question, because this is Alcoholics Anonymous. Where do I get this stuff?" I had 2 uncles that were in AA in the 40s, and they weren't successful. And well, the guy says to me, this is my sponsor-to-be. He says to me, "Can you go to a meeting tomorrow without drinking?" I said, "Absolutely not. I need to maintain my level so I can work." I don't know how much work I was doing, but I was drinking a lot. I'll tell you the little story about drinking, and I knock on the door at 6 o'clock in the morning, hoping that the barmaid would open up the door. I'd get a couple of stingers to start off with, and if I had the 3rd one, I wasn't going to work. So absolutely not, I can't go without drinking. Well, he says, "We don't care if you show up sober or you show up drunk. Here's the address. We'll see you tomorrow, one way or another." I thought that was an invitation. And I showed up in that hall in Malden, Girls Catholic, in the basement. You can't see the speaker. And it was a tough night out. I just couldn't. I'm not smoking. I never smoked because I thought it would hurt my athletic ability. But I'm drunk? Yeah. So I went to another meeting the next day, and the next day. Now, that guy that asked me if I was an alcoholic, he was my sponsor. He was my sponsor for 50 years in AA. And sponsorship's important. So, I had had enough. And if you've had enough, you don't need any more. In Alcoholics Anonymous, we build a foundation based on one day at a time. Go to a meeting every day. They didn't take roll call, but they would call you if you didn't show up the next morning. They would call you. And a lot of people have God. I never had a problem with God. I never had a problem with God. I knew that I couldn't stop drinking, and I cried out to him every day when I got in some kind of trouble because I was a pain in the butt. And I would ask God to get me out of this, and he got me out of that. And I would leave God right where he got me out of my stuff. I have a big ego. And my ego, my tools with my ego was a chainsaw and a sledgehammer. You know, they have tools in AA. My tools were, don't drink, go to a meeting, chainsaw and a sledgehammer. And, you know, I'm going to tell you this because it's important in my life, but my ego today is under control because the Spirit of God took over. I blocked everything out of my life with my ego. Everything that was good for me, I blocked it right out. Because God didn't work fast enough for me. I asked God every morning to keep me sober, and he did. And I got on the highway, and I thought I owned the highway, and I thought I owned everything else, and I was so self-centered, they were going to do it my way. And there was no detoxes in Alcoholics Anonymous at that time. We had 2 books, the big book and the 12-step book. That's it. We used to use Hazelton's. Hazelton made a lot of money, and they finally got to a point where AA says we have to write our own material. And we had the little bottles and stools, a little red book, and a 24-hour book, which I still use today. And I got sober. I told you there was no detoxes around, and they would send you to the Bridgewater State Hospital for the criminally insane. They would work on your brain, and they give you shock treatments. There was no help for the AA. And the people that, I'm going to AA every day. After 3 weeks, I told my sponsor, I think I'm an alcoholic. Well, I think. I like what was going on in my life. And he said to me, what do you want to do about it? Big deal. What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about being an alcoholic? They were tough. They didn't love me into AA. I didn't need to be loved into AA. I had to be shown how to get sober. And after 3 months, we got married. No big decisions, they used to tell us. Within 3 months or a year, well, we got married. And that marriage lasted for 15 years. And Al-Anon was a big thing in those days. And they would meet in the basement, or they would meet upstairs, and there was an AA meeting, and they would go socialize after the meetings. They'd go to someone's home, or they'd go out to dinner or lunch. But my wife, she liked Al-Anon, but after 3 months of being sober, and maybe 6 months of going to I always get this thing mixed up. Anyways, I was coming home every night with my work clothes on, and then I would run out to an AA meeting, and that was not much of a life for my wife. And she said to me one day, as I come back home for late work one night, and she said, "You're out of here." I thought I was up for husband of the year. She said, You're out of here. I says, what's the matter? She said something, and I said, well, look, you go to Al-Anon and learn how to live with a guy like me. Can you believe that? I'm being thrown out of my house. You go to Al-Anon and learn how to live with a guy like me. Amy went to Al-Anon. 3 years later, she was chairman of Al-Anon, Massachusetts Al-Anon. She gets a call from Lois, Bill's wife, and she said, you got to come up to Stepping Stones because we have some problems we need to talk about. And it was all over the East Coast. And so a bunch of people showed up. My wife didn't drive at the time, and I had the privilege of driving her up there. And guess what? Bill Wilson was there. And he was standing in his rose garden with his wife, beautiful wife. And this was not the first time I met him, but I met him down in New York, celebrating his birthday. And I said to my sponsor said, tell your wife you're going away for the weekend and you'll be back Sunday night. And I guess I told her. And I don't know how people sit still, because I couldn't sit still. I was up. I think I'm going to miss something. If I didn't like this, I would go to another room and another room. So what happens, Bill Wilson comes in for the hall for a reception. And I said to my sponsor, Arthur, I said, what happened? He says, well, Bill Wilson just walked in. And that was one of the group of people that I walked into, about 12 guys sitting there. And I could have really appreciated that stuff, but I almost missed the boat. And he said to me, kid, keep coming. You're going to be okay. And I'm going to tell you, if you've had enough and you can take some direction, most alcoholics don't like direction because they want to do it their way. And I heard the previous speaker doing it his way, Bo, and look what happened to him. And he come to AA, and he's a happy camper. Wow. Followed a little bit of direction. I've got a mind that thinks alcohol. I'm off alcohol for a long time. For me, that was 9 months. A long time. So I'm coming up on my anniversary, and I invited everybody to my first anniversary that I could invite. And everybody starts laughing because my sponsor's behind me. And you get a cake at your first anniversary and your 5th anniversary. And an old timer, by the way, was 10 to 15 years of sobriety. The struggles that these guys went through trying to get sober. That's why we're sober today. Now, this is a we program. We get sober. I can't get sober by myself. We get sober. The group gets sober. So, Bill Wilson says to me up in the garden, "Come on, kid, I'm going to go take you up to Wits End, where I've done all my writing." And I had an opportunity to listen to that guy for 2.5 hours. And I listened. I can't tell you I can tell you some of the things that he was talking about. He was talking about 1935 to 1940 or 1939, there was less than 100 people in Alcoholics Anonymous. They didn't communicate by mail. They communicated. And he talked about emotional sobriety and how Father Ed Dowling saved his butt because he got him through into dealing with his emotions. And Bill was a chronic depressed person. And he would sit in his office and all of a sudden start crying. And he was just depressed. So he was hospitalized for his depression. And Father Ed and Bill, they redoubled their efforts. Father Ed was not an alcoholic. He redoubled their efforts, and Bill Wilson never, ever, ever had another depression his entire life. He had to put the big pants on. That's what he says, put the big pants on, redouble our efforts, and take responsibility for the stuff that we create. How do you like that? Be responsible. It's not them. It will never, ever be them. It's me and how I show up. When I don't like what's going on in my life, AA has been, it's a slow process. And I can tell you that I've been rocketed in. I think Bill Wilson sold himself short when he studied. He rocketed into the fourth dimension. I've been rocketed into 4, 5, 6. I'm working on 7. You know, my life is incredible. I was out in Akron last year. 90 years celebrating, we're going to celebrate 90 years of AA in Akron this year. And you know what they say? Welcome home. That's powerful. Welcome home. That's where AA started. And they go around and they shake hands with everybody. And I had been there several different times before. This time I sat out where there's a big sign down at the gatehouse that this is federal historical site. And I would be sitting under a tree, and they would come by, we would come by. And they wanted their picture taken. And they asked me if I would take their picture. I said, absolutely. Get all of you, get together. And after the pictures, I says, I want to tell you a story. I've never done this before, and I don't know where it came from. I says, and I shook everybody's hands. I said to him, or them, this is the hand. You're shaking the hand that shook the hand of Bill Wilson. Wow. One of the guys started crying, but I've been rocketed ever since then into another dimension. You know, and we get better slowly. Easy does it. First things first. Don't drink. Think the drink through. It's a moment of insanity that creeps into us all the time. Think the drink through. How was your last drunk? Did you have fun? No, we didn't have a lot of fun. So I was out there for 4 or 5 days. My wife was with me, and my new wife was with me. I chased her I met her for convention goers. I met her at a convention. I was talking to another guy, and she blasted in there, sat down, and talked to the other guy, and ignored me. And I said, this is a very interesting woman. Now, I got divorced at 15 years sober, and I have never got married after that. I had a lot of long-term relationships, but I never got married. And I chased Linda up and down 75. She lives in Fort Lauderdale, and I live in St. Pete. I drove down there every day. No, every day. 3 or 4 days a week, I'd be visiting with her. And I said, I don't know where we were, but you just reminded me the other day. But after a year of that, I says, you ever think about, you want to get married? No, that's a classy trick. You want to get married? She says, no, I'm not getting married. I'm not changing my account. I'm not doing this. I'm not changing my name. You know what? I love Linda just the way she is. I have never, ever had a crossword with Linda in 17 years. I need to redouble my efforts. She's okay. I'm not okay. I do stupid things. And I hate to get caught, so what do? I tell Linda what I do. I'm a neat freak. I leave the cupboard doors open. It's not hard to close the doors. I make my bed every day. If I don't make my bed, that's not a good day. I make my bed every day. If there's clothes on the floor, that means I'm in trouble. I hang them up. But that's all the little warning signs inside of me that prevent me from saying something I'll regret. And I'm going to say it one more time. It's not them. It'll never, ever, ever be them. It's me, and what do I want to do about it? And I've never had a problem with Linda in my life. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. But I had to do all the work because she's perfect for me, just the way she is, except when she's playing cards. She's a tiger. And what do I want to talk about now? I want to talk about my 3 kids. I didn't finish the story about my sponsor and everybody laughing at me, right? Well, my sponsor's behind me with a cupcake with one candle in it. And he brought me to my knees, and everybody was laughing, and then they gave me a big cake afterwards. But that's how much that guy loved me, because he knew I needed to be brought to my knees and get some humility, or get outside of myself. If you got a sponsor like that, you're lucky. They didn't want to be my friend. They loved me into they didn't love me into AA. You can't love somebody who can't love themselves. You're wasting your time. If you want to get sober, and this is what they told us, if you want to get sober, you go to AA every day, you join a group, and you get a job, and you'll be sober. Unless you want to run AA. I told you before that I got a big ego, and I blame God for giving me all these character defects, because I was bent. People were freezing to death in cars, or they got on the wrong rating in the elevator system, or they woke up in a snowbank, or they died in a snowbank. And those guys would come to AA, they have alcoholic seizures, and I'm liking AA, and these guys are scaring the hell out of me because most of them died. It's not that way today, in today. We got all kinds of help. And I was driven. I've met Marty Mann, I've met Ebby, I've met CSE, I've met Joe Martin, Father Martin. I met all these guys because I had a sponsor that made sure that I was active in Alcoholics Anonymous. But Marty Mann said to me, there's money coming down from the federal government, and if you can get into hospitals and present the program that we have. So that's all she had to say to me. And I'm feeding my ego now. I'm doing God's work. I want the people dying on the street. So I went to one hospital and I told him the plan, and he says, well, that sounds good, because the plan was that all new construction would be 0 interest rates. They liked that. I didn't have a chance with this guy. He said, wait, come back in a week. I said, no, you call me when you're ready to have me come back with an answer. And I went up the street to another hospital, and they said, when can you start? I was looking for 6 beds. Now I says, I'm looking for 10 beds. That's within a half an hour. I'm looking for 10 beds. This is the program I have. Eastern Middlesex Committee on Alcohol Education. And he said, when can you start? I says, I have a handshake with another guy. And what happened was, over the course of the years, they built a whole wing of a hospital just for us. You know, we don't have to go to Bridgewater State Hospital for the criminally insane. And the education that was coming out of there. I never used to talk about that because my ego wouldn't let me do that. If it was right, I claimed it. If it was wrong, it was your fault. I'm getting back to my kids. My kids, I got 3 kids. They're not kids anymore. Peter's 60. That must make me old. Peter's 60. And Mary Beth, Peter's got 32 or 34 years, 32. And Mary Beth had 37. She had. She got away from the program. Isolation is not good for us. She isolated herself right out of AA. 37 years. And what happened to her? She's lost everything. Her kids don't talk to her. Her sister doesn't talk to her. Her brother doesn't talk to her. She can't take responsibility for her behavior. And she's blaming people, places, and things. And she wrote me a letter one day that blew me away. And I've searched, I can't help my daughter, but you can help my daughter. And I can help your kids. But there's too much stuff going on there. You know, true or imagined. All Mary Beth wanted to do was get married, have a bunch of kids, and bake chocolate chip cookies. She did all of that, but she forgot, didn't go to meetings, and the end result, I'm going to get a phone call, either she's sober or she's dead. Because alcohol is the great remover. So if you're happy and you're happy with yourself in sobriety, it gets better. It gets to be unbelievable. Don't beat yourself up for the stuff that you did when you were drinking. You make the amends, and you let that stuff go. And the best thing you can do is not drink. With all the people that we've hurt and destroyed, you got to learn to forgive yourself. Because if you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive anybody else. Alcoholics Anonymous is unbelievable. And I know there's several new people here today. And once again, welcome home. You're in the right place. This is a great group. It's unbelievable. How much time do I have left? Well, what can I fit into? Well, let me tell you about me. My favorite subject. I'm having the time of my life because I quit having to be right. I don't want to play, and I don't. You want to be right or you want to be happy. I don't want to play. That's the next step up from that. I don't want to play. And I have a choice. I can respond or I can wait for the question to be asked. I've learned through the hard way is to not to respond. And when we don't respond to something that we usually respond to, that's unbelievable. You know what you do with that? You leave the person that is trying to aggravate you with stuff because you're not playing. And I'm going to say this, the hardest thing that I've ever had to do was say, that hurts, and walk out the door. Don't slam the door. What you've done is maybe someone that said that to you and hurt you will take a look at themselves. If I wait for a response, oh, I'm a target. I learned all of that stuff in Alcoholics Anonymous. And if I don't know how many 12-step books I've read, or I always wanted to know what's wrong with me. And when I make a mistake, like leave the cupboard door open, I don't like to get caught. Linda says, cupboard door's open. I says, okay, thanks. I don't like to get caught. So, for the new people, get yourself a job. They'll give you a job here. They'll make one up just so you can feel like you belong. And you know the best thing that ever happened to me in AA? They remembered my name. Nobody remembered my name. Nobody wanted me around. And I'm judging myself, how come I can't remember all these people's names? You know why I can't remember? Because there's too many of us. But they remembered my name. And they said, keep coming, kid, and you'll be okay. That's a powerful statement. Keep coming and lie to your sponsor. Because you're never going to tell them the truth. So it's okay to lie to your sponsor because he knows you. You know, all you new people, we know how you think. And we know what's coming next. And most people, you know, I'm going to share this. Most people really need to finish what they start. But you grow slowly in this program. When you're ready and you've got the right sponsor, anybody's the right sponsor, by the way. The person that you don't like the most, ask him to be your sponsor. I said to my sponsor one day, I says, I don't like that guy. And he says, don't hit him and pray for him. Because there was a lot of action going on in early AA. There was fist fights going on. We're not all like, we don't even get up to go to the bathroom because we're scared that somebody's going to say something to us. So I can't give you what I got, but I can tell you, you can have what AA has. A wonderful life, free from alcohol, freedom from the bondage of self. You can make it. You can make it. I'm going to tell you one more little thing. AA, when I got to AA, I was 23. AA was 29. So we kind of grew up together. You know, thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous, and I really appreciate you and how you listen to me. Makes it very easy for me to talk. Thank you very much.